Our sponsors for this episode are Hall's Tree Service. Locally owned and operated, Hall's Tree Service has been exceeding and surpassing customer demands in Newton and the surrounding area for over 40 years. Larry and his crew are guaranteed to work hard for you. There's no tree too tall, no job too small. Call Hall's at 316-772-1919. Absolute Drain. Look, no one, and I mean no one, likes it when their sink, bathtub, washing machine, or especially their toilets start backing up. It's even worse when they won't drain or flush at all. No matter who you are, it happens to us all. If this is happening to you, then you need to give Garth with Absolute Drain a call. Absolute Drain is located at 420 West Broadway in Newton and has been faithfully serving Newton and surrounding areas for longer than I can even remember. I personally use Absolute Drain, and they have kept my pipes cleaned out and flowing day one. It might just be time for you to give them a call too at 316-283-7264. The Newton Kansan is Newton's longest-running local newspaper covering all the stories, people, places, and things happening in our community. Chad Fry, the Kansan guy, editor of the Kansan, works diligently to ensure integrity, accuracy, and unbiased news is delivered to your doorstep 3 times a week for an unbeatable price. You can also sign up for online-only access for around $7 a month. That's 12 online papers a month for only $7. If you've not subscribed, it's time you do. Visit them in their office at 517 North Main Street. That's 517 North Main Street in Newton. Online at thekansan.com. That's thekansan.com. Or give them a call at 316-283-1500. That's 316-283-1500. Support local journalism, support the Kansan. Well, everybody, welcome to this HC Talk podcast. As always, I'm your host, Lance Gormley, and my co-partner in crime to do another week is Andy Ortiz, local businessman and entrepreneur. How you doing today, Andy?
Fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic. That's
Yep.
great. That's great.
Yep.
I think Chad Fry's doing well himself. He sends his regards from Colorado. I'll call it the green state of Colorado for various reasons. I'm sure it is green there right now this time of year, and he's having a vacation with a loved one, and I think he's enjoying himself and redeeming of the time.
Been looking at his foodie pics, and I'm jealous.
Yeah.
He knows I love that stuff.
He's
and
getting
out there.
around.
He's up there trying some cool stuff and
Yeah.
eating some good food and outside of our pocket. But Chad, have fun out there, and shout out to everybody out there. He wanted us to tell you he'll be back soon.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. Okay, so I'm not going to say I'm going nuclear this week, Andy, but
Do it.
you know I like to do research.
Drop the bombs, baby.
Data
Drop the
and all
bombs.
that, okay? So, and we had mentioned, I guess I had expressed my disdain, would be a good word to use when it comes to local election that took place and outside election interference, in my opinion. If you want to call it
Absolutely.
that,
Any other
and
place
everything
they would
else.
call it that.
Oh, yeah, of course, absolutely. So I did a little digging, and I have to say, I'm still doing research, folks, but I had enough to bring to the table today. So for many people that don't know, any kind of a campaign donation or expenditure has to be submitted to the state, or in some instances, which we don't see here very often, the federal government, right? So an entity registers itself as a PAC, or a political action committee. So we could have the Lance and Andy political action committee, right? But if we do that, anything that we get in and anything we put out has to be put forth in a public way. So also, when people are running for elections, they have to do at the state of Kansas level here locally, because of it's a state race. Let's say if it's a local race, it only has to go to the county. But in the instance of the 72nd House District, what we've been talking about with incumbent Avery Anderson and then Michael Stavola, I wanted to see who was donating to who, how much was donated, and how much was spent. Just very 10,000 foot.
And I appreciate that you did that, because in my little world, right, I'm talking to my friends and family and people that I'm acquainted with, and there was a interesting concern about the volume of mailers that they had never seen before. And they were wondering, like, the conversation was real about where's all this coming from. So I'm glad that you dug a little bit deeper.
You would be surprised.
I don't think I would be, but go for it, man.
So
I'm ready
got
to hear some
screenshots.
facts.
So I'm going to monologue for a second, folks, and I hate to do that to Andy, but I just kind of want to throw this out here. So the first thing that I want to say is, I will say this conservatively, which means it could be a little bit less, but it also could be a little bit more. It's looking like about $200,000 went to support the Avery Anderson campaign. Okay. I know this, that only $13,000 went to support the Michael Stavola campaign. So when you take the number of votes that people have, which I'm going to just I'm real flexible with these numbers, right? There was a little over 3,000 people that got out and voted, all right? And it was a 60-40. So I'm just going to say, we'll just say Michael got 1,300 votes. $13,000 spent, that's $10 per person per vote. Let's just look at it tangibly as far as a financial transaction, if we could call it that. Well, then you take the $200,000 that conservatively was spent for or against Michael Stavola or for Avery Anderson, because they have to say.
How did you come up with that number? Do you have any math that you're willing to share?
So,
or kind of walk me through that a little bit.
So if you go and you look at the Kansas Ethics Commission or the state Secretary of State, you can go in, and any money that's been spent or anything that's come in, you just type in the person's name. It's somewhat user friendly, and you can find out all of their campaign expenditures and I call it a campaign expenditure report, because I really want to see who's donating and receiving of funding from who, what entity, et cetera, and then how much is outgoing. And for Avery Anderson, this election cycle, he spent pretty close to $60,000 out of his own campaign fund. Okay. One thing that I found very interesting was, as I was scrolling through all the people that donated, you probably had about 5, maybe 6 locally. So of all the money that came in this election cycle and then was spent, only about 5 individuals.
So would that be Harvey County centric or Newton centric?
Newton centric. I just looked up Newton centric because most were from Wichita, Park City. Some were from different states.
Interesting.
It was very, very interesting. And
for the 72nd, huh?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So we're talking about the majority, the mass majority. We're talking like a 95 percentile came in from all places that had nothing to do with Newton, Kansas, America, or Sedgwick, if you want to call it that, because those are the two.
The 72nd district.
The 72nd district, yes. So then you break down a little bit more here, and I started to look through some of the smut that was sent out and who sent it out, and I started trying to figure out, okay, well, who's American Conservative?
Well, and a lot of it was just bullcrap, straight up.
Absolutely.
So where did they get this? Who's behind it?
Correct.
And so are you going to come off this anytime soon?
Yeah, okay, so
No. I mean, like just me and you talking here,
right.
Like...
Am I being a pit bull on a piece of steak?
Yeah.
I don't.
And what are we going to learn? What do you want us to take from the journey that you're going to go down to bring all this stuff up, so we can start holding all of us accountable?
Yes. Okay. I think this is part of being an informed voter first and foremost.
Okay.
I think that a lot of people don't do their due diligence and research, and I find that just absolutely disgusting. I think to be an informed voter, that you need to find out at least where's the money coming from. So I'm a pit bull on a piece of steak right now with the idea that I want people to learn from this. I want to educate them on how to do it. I want to inform them on how to do it themselves, right? And then from there, inform them on what's going on here.
So just to reiterate, because you have to say something at least 3 times for people to connect it, and most people see 3-minute clips or 10 minutes of our episodes. Some people are watching half. We do have a handful of loyal, about 50 followers that watch the whole thing every time.
Right.
But most people just get clips and pieces of it here and there if they're interested in a piece of what we talk about. But when we talk about the education part that you're providing for the community and how you want us to really understand some things, because most people don't, because you've been through the process.
Correct.
In this race, as a primary, to beat a dead horse, because we'll continue to do that.
Right.
If you weren't a registered Republican, you could not vote for one or the other candidate.
That's correct.
So if you were a Democrat, on the Democrat side, that liked the Democrat, apparently from some of those flyers that were running on the Republican ticket, you could still not vote for that Republican.
Correct.
So what would be a narrative, and why would you push a narrative that one person was liberal and one person was conservative? Could you help me with thinking through that and war game that? This is all our opinions here.
Well, and it has to do with messaging, okay?
Right,
because messaging is key, communication is key and it's a one-way form of communication, right? So it's not a two-way form of communication. You don't get to have the discussion. They send you a flyer in the mail making a claim, okay? So if you don't...
And could be anybody.
Anybody. And I think a lot of people don't understand that.
Correct.
I think a lot of people see something come across
and so to
their
have some
mailbox.
grace on Avery's side of this,
Right.
he might not have known about 80% of those. And he cannot discuss with those people what's going out, even though they might be in his sphere.
Correct.
Right? Legally, you can't do that.
Yes.
Other people, maybe campaign managers can.
Right.
But not like him himself. He can't be involved with that, even though the messaging was pretty succinct.
Correct.
Legally, there's no real ability to cross lines there. But so I'm just trying to understand, right? Because I'm an average dude watching this thing from the outside. I haven't been involved. I didn't even know that I couldn't vote for him, even though I liked him, even though I'm a Democrat, because I know what he does in the community, and
Yes.
I know people that know him that like him a lot.
And I'm taking a lot for granted, right? I'm taking for granted that the individual that's listening to this podcast right now understands the process of I'm registered in one party or another, that because this is a primary, if I'm not registered as a Republican, that I can't vote for Stavola or Anderson, and fill in the name.
And so, be frank with you, I'm looking at a big tent Republican Party personally on my personal side
Right.
of what I do, right? And because of what we have right here in this community is not that. More of a Charlie Kirk style, big tent
Correct.
Republican Party, right?
Correct.
That's kind of what
Where we
I
want to discuss
and
ideas.
I do know that a lot of our young people are watching our podcast.
Yes.
And I'm going 5 years down the road. I'm not messing with today. This scuttlebutt that's happening right now is short-term thinking.
Correct.
I'm looking at 5 years from now. What does the landscape look like? And who are those 17-year-old dudes and gals that I'm running into at the Y that are saying, hey, we love listening to your podcast. And thank you for giving us that information.
Right.
And I didn't know, and that was really cool. And could we have, some time together when you're in the gym, right? Kind of cool stuff, right?
Okay.
Of course, I want to invite them for a cup of coffee and do what I do, right? Or tea or whatever they drink, soda or whatever. But when I look at the landscape of educating our younger folks, I'm talking 21 and under, getting them geared up to understand, not to be manipulated like our generation was, that just has zero clues of how any of this works. How do we empower them? And so that's the lens that I'm putting on, Lance, as we
Right.
move forward, right?
Right.
Is looking 5 years down the road, not today. So what you're doing, I think, is so valuable because so many people don't want to have this conversation because they're not willing to carry the label that we carry.
Right.
Right.
They don't want to be. They don't want to be ostracized. They don't want to be.
They
in a
freak out that we're
situation-
doing it.
That's right.
And it shocks me because I really don't give a damn.
Right.
And I want them to also learn to live in a way that you just need to be out there with it.
Well, you got to take the time. You got to be educated. You got to be informed. And part of being educated and informed. So I've always looked at education as, you don't have to go to school to be educated. School's great. I mean, it's a great way to educate you because you have access to information. But then the true education is information and then application. That's education. Right. So if you're somebody that gets information like the way we used to, which is you're providing me the knowledge on how to do a trade, right? Before trade school, let's say. Andy knows how to do something on a vehicle. He's a mechanic. I come in. I'm ignorant of that. I get informed I consume this information of him teaching me how to do X, Y, or Z. And then from there, I apply it. That's the full cycle of education. So what I'm trying to do is, one, help people understand that this is how this works, right? Because I think that we've really fallen short when it comes to the youth. I think we've fallen short. Even I think the boomer generation, we even fell short with them, because if you talk to the mass majority of people, they just do not understand how this works.
They're seeing a headline on social media and they're gone.
Yeah. So I get a mailer. So it's kind of like we could pick this apart from so many different angles, right? So starting with let's inform people like we were doing as far as and when it comes to voting in elections. First of all, a lot of people are disenfranchised with voting. They don't want to vote. A mass majority of people, especially younger people, don't register to vote, which you have to register to vote before you vote or you can't vote. If you go in there and try to register the same day as you vote, you still get to cast your vote, but in some weird way that vote doesn't count, right? And people don't know this. Another thing is if you register as a Democrat, that when it comes to a primary, you can only vote for a Democrat. Same as a Republican. If you're an independent, you're shit out of luck. Okay, so for all these people that are registered, or what we would call eligible registered voters, let's say you went in and you decided, I'm going to register to vote. I guess, if I'm going to determine whether I'm a Republican or am I Democrat, a safe bet is what's the majority population in your community. So if you're kind of on the fence as far as an independent's concerned and you don't necessarily want to pick one or the other because you're kind of a centrist, it's in your best interest to pick one or the other. So I would pick the one that's the majority party. You're going to have more say when it comes to who you vote for, because the likelihood of that individual, let's say a Republican here in Harvey County, has a greater chance of winning. So then where the rubber meets the road is in the primary. Did I throw enough out there, you think, to kind of give people, I'm not going to say I'm a professional on all things, but these are pretty basic things.
Well, but they're not, though. We got to be careful, because here's the thing. Some of those people, I
just gave them an earful and they're like, holy, what?
Yeah, they have no idea. And so it's okay, though. It's okay. And that's why, if anybody wants to register to vote, please DM us, contact me. I will personally walk you through the process.
Right.
It's all good, but you got to start somewhere. I'm heavy set. I'm overweight, right? I have to start somewhere.
Right.
I have to start looking at my calories. I have to look at my buddies who are doing it better than me and get information from them. Be open to learning about what they're doing, how to change my daily habits.
Correct.
That happens over months and months and months of time of trial and error and practice, being dedicated and staying around the right people to learn things. Politics is in everything.
Right.
As you're going to unfold for us,
believe or not.
The bridges that are being built in our community, the roads that are being laid, the signs that are being put up, the infrastructure that's going around, the technology, how we're paying for that at the end of the day at the grocery stores, at the gas pumps.
For that. That's right.
All of it is connected, and we have to take control as much as we can of the situation around us, because that will permeate and make a better country, because right now we're sucking wind.
We are in the process.
And that's the main message I wanted to give off. But please dig in, and I'll stop interrupting.
And so just because I'm going to go into this a little bit more detail in the future, or whatever, before the general election comes around. So what I found was, and I don't think I said, I think I was talking with Andy about this before the podcast. What I started to do was I started to see, okay, you have an individual who's running. They report every donation that's given. If Andy's running for office and I give Andy a $500 contribution, then it's going to show up. It has to be recorded.
No, there are max levels.
Yes.
On different ways we can give.
Yes.
So
then that would be an I would go into the weeds on that.
Okay, not today. Overview, though.
Overview.
We'll get into that eventually.
Yeah, there are limits that an individual can donate per election cycle to an individual. So I could only donate X amount of dollars to Andy, but my wife can donate the same amount of money. And then if I have a business, I can utilize my business to donate a certain amount of money. And then my wife can utilize her business to donate a certain amount of money, because those are considered all individual entities.
But what if you had 3 businesses?
All 3.
To the maximum amount?
To the maximum amount.
Each as an individual.
If I had 10 businesses, I could do a maximum amount from every single business.
So if you had one business that has an interest, but you have 6 businesses, you could have all those businesses support somebody that knows they want to help you with the one business.
Correct.
Yes. So some of this can happen.
Yes. Oh, it can, and it did here locally.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So I'm looking
forward to hearing all this.
Okay. So as we move on, the second way that something can happen is like what we saw with just a plethora of mailers, and I'd say there's probably 20 mailers that went out. If you look at who paid for it, the law states that you have to have who paid for this communication, whether for or against, advocating for or against an individual that's running for office. So in the case of Michael Stavola and Avery Anderson, there were some that were paid for that were against getting Michael Stavola elected, and then there were some that was paid for to try to get Avery Anderson elected. So it's broken down by oppose or for. Okay, and that has to be what was this messaging for? And it's funny because it's all about accountability to the public, but it's almost like a misnomer, because if nobody goes and looks at it, then what's the point? What's the point? There's no point. It's almost like a disclosure of assets information that people give when they're running for public office, which is another thing they have to do. And if you don't go look at it, then you don't know whether or not this person that's in an elected office is going to make decisions based upon something that's in their best interest, which would be considered a conflict of interest.
I think that's kind of normal, though, to end up, certain people are involved. I know people that are involved with dozens of things. I said dozens. And so for them to not step on something here or there, I don't think I've been in positions where I do something and it's not intentional.
Right.
Like my company will get an RFP. I didn't even know about it. And I'm actually connected to the company that's putting out the RFP. And I've literally found out about it later that we were spinning up a quote for an RFP. And I'm like, man, that could look bad.
Right.
And I didn't even realize, but it's part of the world we live in.
Not to say that it's intentional. I'm not saying there's any nefariousness involved, right?
Just to put that out there too, though, right? Because there are sometimes it is intentional, right? So, but it's not our job to judge that. It's our job just to say what's happening. Because again, I've been on the side of that could look bad.
Right.
And do I make this a big deal before somebody else tries to say I'm doing something nefarious? Because in the world that I live in, people do that to you.
Yeah, well, and that can be a catastrophic event, you know, for yourself personally. Like it could, you know, being judged in the realm of public opinion, especially if you're in business or if you're endeavoring
you lose 6 figures real quick.
Yes.
Lose.
Because people are like, huh, that sounds shady. And that's all it takes. I mean, look at the woke culture. We have woke culture and cancel culture that are currently happening right now. And we've seen it happen on these major untouchable industries, right? We'll just go back to Bud Light. Bud Light went woke, and the major demographic of consumer of that product said, no, this is a bit too far for me. And so then they boycotted them.
I was one of them.
Right. I'm just going to stop taking your product.
Yeah.
But then so not to get into the weeds, but this is how short-sighted some people are, because I've seen this boycott Coke. Okay. And there are people out here that are literally dumping out their Coke products online so everybody can see, because they're boycotting it, and then they're showing people what they're choosing to go to, which is also a product that's produced by Coca-Cola.
The same company.
I mean, do you not look at the label?
They switched one beer for another, but that other beer is still owned by the same company.
I'm only going to drink Dasani. Well, Dasani's a Coca-Cola product, and I don't know if it is, but most bottled water companies are in fact just another place that's gonna. And so then we get into these conglomerates, right?
Yes.
And then that goes all the way up to Washington, and how, like, even with our media, the media that we utilize right now, it's all owned by the same person. It's all owned by the same company, right? Okay, so moving on here. Okay, so at the next stage, the next layer that you look at is, well, what are these entities, right? So you look on a flyer and it says paid for by Avery Anderson, Mark Boston Treasurer. Okay, and there was some that came out of the $60,000 that Avery spent. I'm sure a lot of that was commercials and media and communication to get your message out there, whatever that might be. Okay, so then that goes directly back to the candidate. And in most instances, that's not going to be where you're going to see these smear campaigns, because of course I need to be above the fray. Right. I'm only going to, in my camp, send out stuff that immortalizes me and makes me look like I am just this I'm here for you, smiley face, kissing a baby, the feel good stuff, right? But then what happens is you get these political action committees involved, and some of them were AFV. So there was 3 of them that I looked into that were pretty good contributors, let's say. So first I looked up what was one that went around pretty regularly, Conservative Grassroots Network Election Fund. So some of those flyers, if you go back and you look at those flyers, it says paid for by Conservative Grassroots Network Election Fund, so-and-so treasurer. That actually is a political action committee registered in Newport Richey, Florida. So what are people or a political action committee in Newport Richey, Florida, called Conservative Grassroots Network Election Fund, trying to get a candidate in the 72nd House District elected?
Is that grassroots for us?
I mean, I think there's a lot in a name. There's a lot in a name, Andy. We can call it grassroots, and that's a buzzword, right?
Right.
Because we want a grassroots candidate. We believe in grassroots. And then what's even more funny was who's the real grassroots candidate.
Right.
So what you have is one real grassroots candidate, Michael Stavola, right, who's running for office, not horribly funded well. I mean, it's not, no political action committees coming by him and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, let's say, to try to get him elected. So that would be what somebody would consider a grassroots candidate, correct?
So like the Massey race.
The Massey race.
Everything coming from outside of the state was not grassroots?
No, that's not how that works. So, for a definition, folks, grassroots, generally speaking, and a lot of what I talk about is trying to just, give a 5,000, 10,000 foot view. A grassroots candidate is somebody that would most likely be receiving funds from within their district, would be spending funds from within their district if they could. Somebody that believes in my community first. And I mean, some instances you can muddy the water with whether or not they're trying to go to a certain place or get elected in order to help certain local entities and businesses if possible. So, but generally speaking, you have like a good example would be, and for those that are listening that are trying to compare what
The young
we're talking
dude
about.
audiences to us. Guys, for you 17 to 21, you know who I'm talking to right now, you group of guys. The grassroots. He's laying it out for you. Own that, understand it, spend time with it, because grassroots is what we're building.
Right.
So.
And the thing would be a good example on a national level, because a lot of people see national level stuff, is the prime example of Thomas Massie. Thomas Massie would have been the grassroots candidate, even though it's a Senate race and there's obviously a lot of money that goes in there when you get to that level.
Right.
But he would be the grassroots candidate out of the two. And the other one would be considered an establishment candidate. An establishment candidate would say that some entities, business players, political action committees, et cetera, would be trying to fund your campaign in order to get you elected. Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Yep.
Another one
Thank
that
you.
we saw a lot of was American Conservative Fund. Surprisingly, that is not not a Kansas company either. That's a political action committee that's from Alexandria, Virginia. And they spent quite a bit of money on mailers for Avery Anderson and against Stavola. So we've saw a lot of those. And interestingly enough, just for this political action committee spent a total of $500,000 on candidates that they wanted elected. Another individual that came up, it was kind of interesting because here locally.
Do you know what candidates in what areas?
Yeah,
Or maybe
yes, it says right there who they're supporting. House District, one that came up pretty regularly was Kyler Sweely.
Oh, he's in Kansas too.
Yeah, over in Hutch, and his besties with Avery Anderson.
Right, that whole scandal. Deal that
Yeah,
came
the
out,
little
that was all
scandal.
that,
That was
interesting.
100% true in video and all, and police reports and everything else, but you couldn't get people to believe it to be true. It's not true. It's not true. Of course it's not true. So then you go in, and I don't know if I said this, but another flyer was AFC Victory Fund. Okay, paid for by AFC Victory Fund. Well, I
and
go
this
into
is not allegedly.
No, this is all true. This is all.
Wow.
Anybody can go find this information out if you want
So
to.
we don't have to use allegedly right now.
No, we don't have to use
Okay.
allegedly. This is where it is. Okay,
So you got paperwork.
I got the receipts. In fact, the Kansas Secretary of State website has the receipts.
Oh, wow.
That by law a candidate has to report.
Just put the link below.
Okay, I can do that. If you want, I can literally walk you through how to do this. It takes 10 seconds.
And you
to
know that
Google
thing we were
Kansas
talking about you for
Secretary
doing the
of State.
education piece?
Yes.
These are the things that I think our younger dudes, because a
Wanna know.
lot of the dudes watching this are dudes, younger
Right.
dudes. And I think they would appreciate that.
Yeah. And I will try to do my best to make sure that happens. So it's not only in spoken, but show.
That'd be
right?
awesome.
Just show. Just maybe do a live feed one day or something, and then share
Click through. That
share
would be
my cam.
awesome.
Maybe do a Zoom, record the Zoom. Like I used to do as a teacher. I would go through and I would just record it, and I would have what I needed to be brought up on the screen, and they'd get a video of me walking them through, watching what I'm clicking and watching what I'm
Like
doing.
free
and so-
master's level
Free
information.
master's level information.
Dang.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't quite call it masters. This is undergraduate stuff, but you got to go get a degree in political science before you're going to realize this is stuff that you research and study. And I have, you're more compassionate than me, Andy, but I really have a problem with complacency, willful ignorance, obstinate ignorance. I probably was very direct and forward with my children when it came to raising them. I hate to say it, but I'm not raising no dummy. And so then maybe that wasn't the best, approach. But then again, I'm either going to tell you that you're being a moron, or you're going to go out there in the world, you're going to suffer the consequences for being a moron. So it might not be the nicest way to say it. I could say, well, you're not using that noggin, young man. I don't think you get across to kids that way. You know, I think there's, you know, at some point in time you have to be like, yeah, that was dumb, right? And I think every parent out there can understand that. But I also understand that, and I've said this on the program before, you know, my kids wanted to do chores. I know every parent experiences this. Every parent has to experience this, okay? Because your kid's too young to go out and get a job. Most people don't have a family business that they can employ their child with. In some instances they do. But they're like, you know, I want to make a little bit of money. Well, then the only person they can go to ask for money is mom and dad. Right. Well, mom and dad's like, well, I'm just not going to shell out, you know, most of us aren't
got
just
$4 a gallon right now.
Yeah, right. I'm not just going to shell out. So what you can do is you can do chores, right? You can either do the stuff I don't want to do, right? Whether it's learn how to clean a bathroom because you're going to have to clean your own bathroom your whole life. I don't want to clean a bathroom. I don't think that's the most prestigious thing anybody wants to do, but it's the nuts and bolts, or take out the trash, or sweep the floor. I told my son, hey, you can do these things. And I stood there watching him attempt to sweep the floor, and I was just like, what are you doing? Like, this is not how you sweep a floor. And instead of being critical in that instance, I was like, well, you know what? If you never show them, they don't know. So circling back around to what we're doing right now, and what you had mentioned, Andy, about just walking through people through this so they'll know. But I also know that there are people that don't want people to know how to do this.
Oh, that's why it's the way it is.
Right. And so interestingly enough, you know, you can go to the state and you can look up whatever's going on at the state level and PACs that are registered with the state. And in very few instances, especially at a local race like what we're dealing with here, you have a federal elections commission. Okay, so I'm looking for this AFC, and it bothered me so bad I couldn't find it. I was like, well, they didn't report. They must have not reported, right? Because there's no disclaimer that it's not a state PAC. So I called up the Kansas Secretary of State, which you can find by Googling the number, and I click 2 or 3 or whatever, you know, through the prompts, and then I get somebody on the line and I say, hey, I'm trying to find this AFC Victory Fund. I'm not finding it. So they help me out. They look, yeah, no. That's not us. That's a federal elections commission report. I'm like, huh. So I go to try to find that. Look it up. Wow. Like that's a whole different ball game. An entire different ball game. So now what you have is you have state PACs that aren't actually state PACs, that are from other states and
grassroots
cities, and you know, with all these buzzwords, right? And then you have ones from the federal government. Kind of like AFC Victory Fund could also be like an APAC, right? Or these other entities that we hear so frequently. So with all of that being said, Andy, I'm still doing my research because I want a total tangible number, and I want for people to understand how this operates. But when push comes to shove, if you can take anything away from this, okay? Avery Anderson's campaign was largely funded by out of county, out of city, out of state, and even at the federal level. The mass majority. Like, I can go back and you can look at who donated, and there was only about 5 local people that donated to his campaign.
Oh, man.
I mean, you know, we'll say between 5 and 10, because I don't want to be wrong. No more than 10. Now there were some, right? Like, if I was to donate to Avery's campaign the maximum allowed amount as an individual, and then I have a business, let's say HC Talk, I'm donating to Avery for, you know, max amount from HC Talk, and then let's say I have a subsidiary of another, you know, Lance's cleaning service, I can donate 500 out of that.
And to be on the table, in full disclosure, I've done that.
Right.
For people in the past.
Right.
So
I'm not saying what people are doing is wrong.
I get it. You know, you want to help people you know, and so you try to say, okay, my company will do this much, and I'll do this much on my personal side. And I have friends who do that too, to go out. And a lot of people that I know that are in the political world, a few that I know closely hate asking for money because they're self-built and self-efficient.
Right.
They're actually the ones always donating and giving money out, and they feel a responsibility to do that. So I do know how uncomfortable some of them are asking. But when you grow in that world, you have to get to a point where that's part of the process.
Right.
You have to get donations in.
Right.
So if someone can give somebody at the higher levels, let's just say it's 10,000, right? Well, you give 10,000 as an individual and 10,000 as a business, right?
Correct. Well,
and then when it gets sketchy is you have people that will give 5 of their friends 10,000 to give to you.
yes.
And there have been cases where they have shown that that person did give out money
Yeah.
to give to friends to give.
Right.
And then they have gotten in trouble for that.
Correct. That's election fraud.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but something that a lot of people don't know as well is although there are caps on an individual or a business that an individual owns that can donate, there is no limit on a political action committee. You can give as much as you want to a political action
Like
committee.
230 whatever $1 million that Trump got from what's her face.
Yes. Yes, but he didn't actually technically. Yes.
But that comes with no favors.
Yes. Yeah, of course. So if I if I had $1 million, okay, we'll just nice round number, millionaire, I'm a millionaire. Okay. So with that, I can start Andy and I can start Harvey County Republican Conservative Grassroots Election Fund. Okay. And then I can put $500,000 in that. Andy can put $500,000 in that, and we can spend all $1 million on whatever candidate we want. Without we just have to disclose it so people know where this money's coming from. And I got to say, I think part of where my irritation comes from is here in our community, there was a time, and I'll say it again, that there was an out-of-state political action committee that did in fact support me when I was running for election. And the pushback on that was incredible. I couldn't tell people, I had nothing to do with this. I did not tell these people, okay, this is ridiculous.
But the same people, let's be clear about this.
Right.
The same people have nothing to say about it now.
No, they're dancing around the campfire with their pitchforks.
But yet, just a year ago or 2 years ago,
Correct.
It was totally different.
Correct.
Why do we do that? As people,
Self-serving?
people.
Self-serving. It's okay. It's okay. For instance, I want to talk about this
Because okay. I'm talking about myself too, right?
Why do we do this? I don't
how
know.
do I catch
try
myself?
not to do that.
Yeah, well, for sure. But I know there's things that I do that are like that because your interests drive you and you justify things, right? I'm not into cheating, but I cheated this one time because this was my circumstance and it was different.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not like my situation was so different, and even though I don't agree with it, when they are doing it, mine was different.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It comes down to ethics and morals, and I would say that we are gradually moving in the direction of a morally bankrupt society.
But when I cheat, though,
It's okay.
I feel bad about it.
Yeah.
But I know why I did it, and you just don't understand.
And justifies the means.
But when they're doing it, it's ridiculous.
Correct.
That is the aura of what I'm talking about here.
Correct.
Because where in my life, looking in the mirror, am I that way? Because
Right.
we all fall short, right?
Correct.
We all have those
Correct.
pieces. It's about consciousness, awareness, and trying to have friends that hold you accountable to those things. And I run around with a group of dudes that, man, a couple of them are super tough. And I love that they're that way with me because they understand that I can take it from them, right? Because I respect where they're at too, and they would expect it from me as well. And it's not done to hurt me.
No.
And when they give me feedback or constructive criticism, it's because they see gaps and they want me to be stronger and better because I'm actually a part of their node, right? And it's a reflection of people around you. So, but I don't think a lot of people have that.
Well, do a lot of people want that? I mean, hey, when it
Yeah,
comes to
good
looking
point.
at yourself in the mirror and seeing yourself for what you are and then making the decision that you want to change, that is not an easy
Super
thing.
hard.
And we can see physically where people are, right? Like we talk about the 7 deadly sins. I mean, there's a lot there. There's just a lot there. And what you're saying is true because by the grace of God, there go I, right? And I'm not saying I'm a perfect person, by any stretch of imagination. Yeah. But I will promise you that I hold myself to the same accountability. I hold myself accountable just as though I would try to hold somebody else accountable. Like I'm real hypersensitive to hypocrisy, right? I'm very hypersensitive in my own life to hypocrisy. It's like, well, I'm not going to go to you and tell you, by God, you smoker, you. Well, I got a cigarette hanging out of my mouth. You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen.
The Gavin Newsom effect, right? You get these politicians like Gavin Newsom is one that I'll throw out there, and you just, I'm just like, dude, no. Look at the track record. Look at the rail system. Look at all these things. That yes, there's a buzzwords and things out in the media, but they're all true. The dude is just, he's just bought and paid for so many times over, and the dude will stand in front of you and just give you a line and not even blink an eye.
Right.
And those people are out there.
Skin and suits. There's a lot of people that are that way. Andy.
And that's crazy to me.
Yes, there's a lot of people.
Because my conscience, I can't sleep when I do a little tiny thing.
You have a conscience.
And I told a buddy that I work with on a regular basis the other day, I said something that was a little bit off, and it bothered the hell out of me. I was like, is that a lie? And then so the first thing I did the next day was tell him, hey, by the way, yesterday this has been bothering the hell out of me. We had this conversation. This is why. And he laughed and he was like, that's and I said, well, it mattered to me.
Right.
So I just want to make sure that that was clear, because I felt like maybe I skated you a little bit on that, and I just wanted to make sure. And he was like, and the air was clear.
Right.
But I had to do it.
Right.
I had to do it. And another one of my buddies, we've worked together for a really long time. And we used to have regular meetings. We don't have them anymore. The schedules are just so different and, you know, whatever. And frankly, the value that I'm bringing to the table doesn't warrant a lot of time right now where we're at. And we know that. So anyways, long story short, as I'm working through this process, we used to have those meetings and I would be overly careful. And he would often giggle. And it's like, but it's not for you, it's for me, because I know who I can be.
Right.
And I'm fighting that dude so hard that even that I can't handle anymore, because I lived in that for so long. I know the difference. And I guess the other part of me says, I feel bad for people that can live like that and not feel it, because my relationships are too valuable for me to live like that around people.
And I would say that somebody not feeling it, I believe that you may not see them. Everybody has to lay their head down at night and deal with themselves. And so then to say that somehow or another, with the flaws that we have in our life, I think most people know, and they just choose not to do anything about it. And speaking of this whole thing,
I think that's right.
Speaking of this whole thing, right? And I'm watching this unfold real time. And for some reason, and it's probably because of what I watched happen with this negative messaging and these negative ads and all this kind of stuff, and with this local race, and knowing Michael Stavola personally, that he's not a liberal and he really is a grassroots candidate, and you know, just knowing the quality of individual.
You didn't fall for that?
No.
I didn't either.
No, I
Not
didn't.
even a little bit.
There was some that did,
I was
by
looking
God.
for about 40 or 50 days. I was like, you know, you just don't know.
Yeah.
And the more I got to know the guy, he's my friend now.
Right.
Like I can call him my friend.
Right.
And I'm very grateful that I know him now.
Right.
And the cool thing about this for me, selfishly, is I know a really good dude that I didn't know. I knew of him, but I didn't know him. So now I could literally call or text him.
Right.
And I would be, you know, respectful of his time and stuff with everything he's got going on. But I know we're going to find ways to serve this community in the future now.
Right.
So that's pretty cool.
And he was already serving the community before in so many different capacities, you know?
I just cut a whole bunch of heads of hair, which he was a part of getting all that put together. That was beautiful just the other day.
I mean,
a big number, you know, and you know, some of your friends too were part of that. Your other friends that you know, shout out to Haircutting Company. I mean, putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah.
You know, they get out there and just serve so many kiddos.
And isn't it interesting that it was a nonpartisan thing?
Yeah.
Like nobody said, oh, that's a candidate that's a Republican running for office, and I'm not a Republican, so I'm not going to support anything they're doing. And
isn't that amazing?
By God, I'm not cutting no kids' hair. Oh, you mean so we can actually come across the aisle with one another and do something that's good and put
You're
our
talking about
political
Shannon,
difference-
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a stud, isn't she?
Yeah,
I give her.
yeah.
And we think very different in how the
Yes.
world works, but I think she seems like a good
Yes.
human.
In fact, I always check my temperature with Shannon.
Oh, wow.
You know, like I
She'll check you up a little bit.
well, what I do is okay. So it's easy for us in today's society to funnel ourselves into a silo of some kind. And so then because the way everything is, right, then Lance living in his little world and thinking what Lance thinks and everything else, if you don't ever go to somebody that doesn't may not, I mean, we agree on a lot of stuff, just like everybody. I'd say 90% of what everybody's looking for is the same thing. How we get there might be questionable, but the reality is that the majority of the time it's these fringe groups and these fringe things that we constantly, try to keep stirred up to keep everybody from getting together and figuring out what's the best for everybody and trying to get that accomplished. So then I kind of check the temperature of my own water. I go talk to Shannon and I'm like, what do you think about that?
Just listen.
Yeah. And then I internalize, I go into my own head with that, right? And I just think about it and I mill it over and I process it. And that's part of what we don't do. We don't humanize other people. So, okay.
30-second clips,
30-second clips. I'm telling you, 30-second clip society, and that's completely
substance.
Self-indulgent. And then you have people that don't think. They don't think. They're not even looking at whether this is AI or not AI. First and foremost, what's the message? We have all of this stuff.
Bots online, people have no clue.
No clue whatsoever.
They start talking to a bot and they don't even know they're doing it. That trips me out when I see that. I mean, I don't do it anymore because I don't want to waste my time. I get an overview, then I'm like, okay, I see what's happening. That's wild.
Right.
And the fact that the boomers are really getting taken because they don't get it.
Yes. Well, and I think
sad
that comes
because
down
when
to
are we going to be there?
I wish there was some way, and I don't want to know how people vote. Obviously, I believe in the privacy and the secrecy of the ballot, but it would be really nice to take some demographic information, right? I've thought about going and studying this.
I voted for Stavola. I'm not going to lie about that one.
So, but here's what I'm saying. Of the 3,000 people,
I think it's pretty obvious to people that know me.
Of the 3,000 people that voted, and you take how many voted for Stavola and then how
60-40 split,
60-40, which is actually incredible considering the amount of money that was spent on one campaign. It is crazy.
That's crazy.
Because it took a lot.
Sounds like the public and private sector if you go spending per person.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's like, okay, so.
Now, there's a lot of nuance in that. I don't want to disrespect my public people because I've come to love them over the last 6 years when I was involved myself, and I get a lot of things that I didn't understand being a part of the process, but it's still... Third things can be done differently.
Right. And we did talk about messaging and journalism and media and all these things. And there wouldn't be people trying to do whatever they could to send out these mailers if for some reason or another they didn't believe they worked. So the boys getting paid the bid bucks, the boys getting paid the bid bucks know that this type of messaging resonates with a certain voter demographic. And a certain voter demographic is 65 plus. So you're sitting here in a situation. I'd love to know how many people voted for Avery and how many people voted for Stavola, age, demographics, and then be able to say,
super cool data.
Then be able to say, okay, I can't say for certain because it's not a scientific poll, but I could believe or hypothesize that it's quite possible that this messaging was effective
to the people who are getting
this 65 plus age group.
Oh yeah.
And so then why is that the case can be a completely a different study. Right. And so
well, do they have those numbers if they don't put names behind them? Is there a place to find that data? There has to be.
I'll go in and talk to Rick.
Because when I get my information, it says I'm like I vote for everything, right? Like, and I voted the Republican ticket. I think it's like 99.9. Right. Like it's just the way my voting record has come out up to this point. But they share stuff with me, so I know my information's there.
Right. Well, and I would like
somebody's
to know.
keeping and tallying that somewhere.
So, well, and Rick Pipo, love you. You're awesome. You've always helped me in every way, shape, or form. Even interned with the guy when I was in school.
Nice.
Love it and everything in every way. And I wonder if there's not a way, especially if you want to do like an academic research, to say, I want this information, but no names attached to it. Like I want to do a blind study of age demographic, who voted, and maybe who they voted for, if that's possible.
So one little scuttlebutt that we've been hearing around the community, and because this is local stuff, because we're nobodies, or what did they refer to local people? Little known nobodies.
Well, yeah, we're little known nobodies.
Yeah, so,
we don't have radio stations,
right?
You know,
that have like a 10% of listeners of a market share that's already have gone.
If you're giving that much
I can
credit,
put an antenna on top of a freaking house before you can get a signal in.
Let's say this. Let's say I'll go this. If you look at social media presence and you look at like what you could actually tangibly research, right? And it's dismal when you're talking about. I'm a host of a radio show that supposedly hundreds of thousands of people are listening to, and I've got this little engagement, but we've got something that a business model that focuses on just one 35,000 population county in Kansas, and then what our numbers look like comparatively, right? It's pretty unbelievable.
So like a CNN average roughly is 610,000 to 711,000 total views prime time. That's their total views.
Right. With a population of 300 million people.
It's almost unbelievable when you look at their numbers and how they're trying to do things to switch that around. It's so sad to watch the big clunky machine try to hold on to what was, when they have no idea how the back end of what we get to do works, even at the small scale that we have. It's like, yeah, that's pretty crazy, and how expensive it is to run those systems,
right?
And all the moving parts versus what we're capable of doing with a few little things and a few pieces of software and a couple of people,
right?
You know,
right?
100. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's awesome though.
Yeah, and
it's awesome innovation.
It's the wave of technology. Okay, one more thing I want to talk about on the program, which I'm probably going to get into a little bit of hot water for, but it's like if to the people that I'm talking to, okay. Understand my heart here, okay? And it's okay. This is difficult here for me to have this discussion. I am seeing individuals come out and say primaries are horrible, dirty things. But now that the primary is over, we need to remember we're all one big family. And I thought to myself, that is like the most abusive statement that the patriarch of a family could make. The first mental
especially
vision
when they broke all their own rules before they went into that piece.
Right. The vision that I had, this little vision in my brain, because I'm always about like a compare to, it's like this, and that would be like this happening, and then okay, so you have the patriarch of the family, right? Uncle Bob, Uncle Bill, and Dad. Okay, got the patriarch of the family. Well, Uncle Bill decides, I'm going to go slap the crap out of my wife. I'm going to slap the crap out of her. And then Uncle Bob says, you know what? Better yet, I'm going to break her nose. I broke her nose. You get in line, broke your nose. And then Dad, he's lived his whole life beating Mom right in front of you, right? The other half of that relationship. And then to turn around and say, kids, I know you're watching. I know that's the voter. I know you're watching what's going on here, and I know that I just, verbally, mentally, emotionally, and physically abused the other half, this other part of the relationship. But I mean, we're all a family. We're all a family. We need to come together. We need to go on vacation.
Rules are back on.
Yeah. I'm sorry. It's horrible. It's horrible. I know an election, right? That's when I get drunk. Okay. But now that I'm not drunk anymore, I mean, we're all a family. And I thought to myself, what kind of abusive ass shit is that?
So this leads me to
are you for real?
And the conversations. I got what
is that?
2 text messages with screenshots of a message. And they're upset about that message. And some people are saying, I don't know if I'm going to vote. And some people are saying I'm intentionally voting the other way.
Correct.
And they've not those kind of people. And because of these party craziness that's going on, right? So there's a weird shift happening right now. And I think Massey, whatever happened with him, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, neither here nor there. She was a little extreme for me in my way. I mean, I thought I was really I really like to know people strong and bold and courageous like that,
Right.
because she was climbing up and going up a
she's a trooper,
stream that
for
was
sure.
yeah.
Even if I disagree,
she
she's-
freaking
yeah.
strap it on.
Yeah.
That girl
Yeah.
was throw a swing.
Yeah.
And you know, you got those types, right? But Massey was like my favorite.
Right.
Right. He's
the darling of the Republican
dude. He
Party.
was my favorite.
The Tea Party Republican of the past.
And for a lot of reasons, right? I just liked a lot of his mannerisms, how he spoke to people like me, right? The average dude. I resonated with what he was saying and his focus when his messaging was there. And all of a sudden, he just got ousted because he started pushing back against the machine.
Holding the machine accountable for what they said they were going to do, pleading with them to say, if you don't hold the line here and you don't do what you promised to the American people, especially our demographic of Republican, the end is not going to work out for you.
Right.
And it was almost like, well, we won the battle,
So
but are you going to win the war?
So I'm going to say this, and I mean what I say, right? I said I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and I'm thinking about this. I've thought about this a lot over the last 4 or 5 days because I'm done. It's whatever. That part is done, and the results are what they are, and we'll go forward. But to the party as a whole to break their own rules, because I was told so many times that we don't get involved in primaries. We don't get involved. We meant a group of people that was involved in the political process, which I have been. I vote every time.
Right.
I've been in the system, right? I actually was an elected official for a little bit of time. They broke the rules. And it's okay now. And I don't get, or we don't, because screw me.
Right.
I'm talking me and 300 of my friends
Right.
don't get an explanation because you said so. And the same people waffling between the groups, and they're okay with that kind of stuff just because on this one they did agree more so with them, and now we're the ones that are the problem. Well, maybe you're the fucking problem.
Right.
Non-leading ass, weak freaking bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm done. Like, I'm not gonna play the games.
So we lead from behind, Andy.
I love my country very much. I'm scared of what I'm seeing across my country.
Right.
I don't agree with the illegal immigration at the levels and at the rates and dealing with all the backlash of that and all the expenditures that took from our system. We don't have that kind of money to spend on we have veterans that are having trouble getting, help.
Yeah.
And then we're paying for apartments and condos and rents for people for years, months and months, even is crazy. Healthcare, all those things that were just imploding. And I don't agree with that. I don't agree with other religions coming in and trying to take over cities methodically and what that means long term for our country. I don't agree with that. Sorry. I don't agree with having abortions up to birth and some people trying to push it after. I don't agree with that. I think that's horrific evil. And there's so many other little things. And I care about our countrymen, my countrymen, Americans. I care about my country and what I love. And I want to serve my country and serve the people in it. I want to create industry and innovation and businesses. I want to see people thrive. I want to be a part of that machine. So anybody that calls me whatever they want to call me, come do it to my face and let's have a talk about it. But at the end of the day, because I will tell you to your face, and I'm doing it right now, where I think that was a bad move for a lot of reasons.
I think
And
it
the
was
big
catastrophic.
tent Republican Party that I'm looking for, we're coming.
Yeah.
Just know.
Well,
And
there's
if you're
gotta
not
be
a
a
part of it,
redirection.
or I'm not talking to you about it, just know it's because you're turning people off.
Right. Right.
And I can't do that right now.
Yeah, and we ask, where does this start? It starts locally.
Yeah.
It starts locally. But I'm with you. And maybe I'll be wrong. It's quite possible. But I said last week on the podcast, and I think I even said a week before on the podcast, that this was not a good move. All right? Kansas is not as conservative as some would like Kansas to be. Right? I'm a realist.
I think we're a pretty conservative state.
Yes and no, Andy. If we are here, it goes back to this thing that I said as far as Ty Masterson, the matchup between Ty and I'm spacing her name right now. The Democrat candidate, no tie, tied's branded into my name here, or his name's branded in my brain. But
They did their job.
you know, as far as because I've met the man,
Yeah.
you know, and have supported him, all right, and that might make some people really, really mad, but there were things that I
I'll
didn't like
support
that
him
he
moving
was
forward,
doing,
for sure.
and there were some things that I liked what he was
Yeah.
doing, and so I kind of take it for what it is. I can't vote for the guy; he's not in my district, and I'm not an elected representative, so I can't vote for him, or a senator, so I can't vote for him there. So it's like, well, you know, really, where's my skin in the game, right? Type of a thing. But Sydney Holsizer, I think is okay. So Ty and Cindy, we'll just say that.
They got
Maybe
some
I'm
messaging
right.
issues.
Maybe
That's
I'm
what
right.
that
Maybe
means.
I'm right. Okay. So with that being said, you know, if you take the population trends in the state of Kansas and how they have gone for decades, we are just slowly, decade after decade, moving in a direction where there will not be a Republican popularly elected, a full statewide popular election such as governor or senator in the future. And I think we've already seen the remnants of that. Jandy, I mean,
You know, I think with the
see it.
Democratic
they got to
Party
shift. They got to do something
doing all
different.
these extreme things, like it's one of my top two is the Democratic Party not stepping up and grabbing their sack and pushing into saying no to boys and girls sports.
Are they doing that though? And here's what I got to ask, right? So
Are they saying no?
Well, we're in one camp, okay? We're in one camp and they're in the other. So we know that in our camp,
But there's a small group of people that are okay with that. And for them not to tell, just like I'm willing to tell people in my party, that's crazy loony stuff. You're going too far now.
Right.
Now you're unattractive.
but is that happening and we just aren't aware of it because we're not in
I'm
that?
not seeing it. I'm looking for it.
But aren't Democrats doing the same thing, looking across the aisle and saying, are Republicans not going to take care of their stuff?
Oh,
Are we
I'm-
going to sit here and
I'm
let
totally
Trump
against-
just do everything that he's doing?
Let's talk
You
about
catch
that
what
real
I'm
quick.
saying?
Yeah,
You
no,
catch what I'm
I
saying?
catch what you're saying.
We're doing
because
it.
gas prices right now are ridiculous.
Right.
That's crap. I just filled up my little car the other day, and I drive it on purpose because I cannot stand spending money on fuel. And it was $40 to fill my tank.
That cost me
It used to be $26 or $27 before. That was on the top high end. I'd be like, you know. And when I saw the 40 number, I was like, what? What? I mean, that's a lot of money for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Every time you go to the pump,
The sense ain't
school
making
starting
sense.
back up, parents have to drop their kids off at school, or a lot of them do.
Right.
I mean, and especially at the high school level, when money becomes a little more important because they have activities and all this stuff, they can't just walk to their local neighborhood school.
Correct.
This causes issues for a lot of people.
And that
over
trickles down.
half of America is
Yeah.
struggling really bad right now. Half.
Right.
Half. And we're trillions of dollars in debt.
Spending more.
And the Trump family is gaining big time gains in financially. I mean, the son-in-law, Kushner, is going to buy the doggone LA Lakers. And there's a whole deal around that. I mean, and then the islands and all the deals overseas, and then the drone company at the $500 million, $500 million contract. It's $500+ million from Donald Jr.
Right.
And we're pissed off at Joe Biden for $20 million, which is not right.
Right.
But where's the same energy on the other side? It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
If you're not bitching about gas right now, you got a problem.
Well, but it's because of the Iran war, and we didn't want him to get a nuke. So since we've been saying that for the last 60
And what
years,
Republican
it's like,
voted for a bunch of wars a year and a half ago?
It's always Republicans getting us into war, ain't it?
That's okay. I
mean,
guess.
you know?
I guess.
Let's wipe my faceless earth. I can't. I couldn't tell you how many
wild.
times I hear this.
wild.
I hear this. Oh, we just need to go make a sheet of glass out of it. Oh, we
And
just need to go make
I
a parking
agree
lot out of it. Okay, let's go kill a
with the
bunch of women and
functionings?
children. That's okay.
Do I agree with the functionings and leadership in that world and that society over there? Hell no.
They're a sovereign nation.
But is it my problem as an American at this point? Hell no. It was a big mistake. If the
Right.
writing is on the wall,
Right.
if you can't see it, you're just as bad as the Democrats that didn't see the COVID BS after 3 or 4 or 5 months.
Right.
And you kept saying this is the right, and some of them are still saying it was the right thing to do. Carte blanche, everything they did was right.
Right.
And then Trump is the only one that did bad COVID calls. My people did all the right COVID calls.
Correct.
All of them are full of it.
Yeah.
All those people are full of it.
Right.
On both sides of the aisle.
And hey,
and so just so people know, I am a Republican.
Yeah.
But I ain't stupid and I ain't crazy. And I love my country. And I'm down to build whatever Republican Party and those young guys that I've been talking to that are coming into the fold, and we're looking 5 years down the road, it's going to be a different group. We're going to get things done. We're going to protect our girls in sports. We're going to protect our girls' activities like prom queens, and we're going to fight for the unborn or for the young kiddos, right? We're going to do things different.
Right.
We're going to value life differently. We're going to value Americans differently.
Right. Is there a way to take the best of the Democratic Party has to offer, the best that the Republican Party has to offer, mesh them together and create a new party?
I really, at this point in time, because I've been on one side and I've been on the other, and I've been on one side when it got too extreme and I said, oh, hell no, and I ended up in another pot that I figured, well, it's better than that.
Right.
But then I got to know some of our local characters, and I'm like, they're kind of weird. Sorry.
Right.
It's unattractive.
Right.
So where does a guy like me fit that loves my country? I'll go to war for America, by the way.
Right.
Tomorrow, if it starts popping off, I'm grabbing and going to the front.
Right. I would say, a lot of people, I think it's why we have such a large independent voting or unaffiliated voting population.
It's grown.
Yeah. And it has a lot to do with people are just like, I don't want to deal with either of this. But because the way the system is designed, then generally speaking, you're only going to get one or the other, and you're going to have to pick between the two.
So I have two people in my life, both females on this one. One of them went from Democrat to independent. One of them went from a Republican to independent within the last 3 or 4 years. I think that's a big signal.
I think it is a big signal.
Because I am a guy who's sick and tired of not being reasonable and putting this country first and our countrymen, still knowing we have to help people.
Right.
But we've got to do us right now and get that debt down and figure out how to retool the schools and figure out how to build around new infrastructure, new technology, figure out how to start bringing industry back to America, like Trump's was saying he was going to do and
that
doing,
never happened.
Which is the golden age of building in America again, right? Going on where?
We're going to put in all these tariffs, and then when we find out that they're unconstitutional, we can't do that. Supreme Court rules against you. We'll just give all these big business benefactors hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, while the rest of us paid in all the increase because that was passed on to the populace.
And I was pissed off when people were saying that that's what was going to happen.
No, it won't. No, it can't. All right, Andy.
I thought we had this.
Coming to the end of the program.
I'm embarrassed now.
Final word. You can't end on I'm embarrassed now.
To the young guys out there, because this is mostly guys that are listening to us, young guys.
We can see that.
Yeah. Hold on. We're on the way. I see you. We feel you. Thank you for listening and learning and growing with us. Don't be embarrassed when you don't know. Ask questions. We're all at different levels. I'm looking forward to growing with you, watching you mature, watching you build your career, go through all the hard stuff at the beginning and coach you through that and cheer you on because you won't have it all figured out, and that's okay. I'm 47, still figuring out and pivoting again in my life. But I'm so grateful for the mentors and people that I've had. But the Republican Party locally, outside of this podcast, we're going to be doing some amazing things. And I'm excited about what you're going to be able to bring to the table too. So just hold on. We're coming.
Yeah. Love it. Love it, Andy. My final word is, hopefully at the beginning of the program, I didn't get on one and talk a million miles an hour. If you have any questions or anything about what it is, and if I said anything that was incorrect, please correct me. Because I'm not a perfect person and I do make mistakes. Much of what I say comes from a background of research and education, which has trained me not only in my own personal life to be able to pick through some of this stuff and try to figure it out. I don't know why my brain works this way or why I seem to put all my eggs in this basket, but up to date, we've been running it pretty hard, haven't we, Andy? So appreciate you listening to the program. Never forget you can reach out. Comment, share, like. We appreciate you. We know you're listening. Have a good one, everybody.
Sorry I threw you off today.
Oh, you're good.